What's up, y'all? My name is Chandler Molyneux. Welcome into the Act First show where we help coaches get better at sales and personal development. Man, I'm an idiot. I am a idiot. Earlier today, on Monday, I record my 2 YouTube videos for the week, the one that I'm recording right now. And I went to the gym, I came back, and I was like, all right, I'm going to edit these videos. I plug it in. There's no audio. There's a tiny little plug, and I didn't have that plug. I didn't plug the plug in when I was recording, so it didn't pick up the audio. Okay. All right, so I'm being tested. Great. Okay, let's re-record. I re-record. I film both videos again. All right, this takes about an hour of my time. I go to put the camera into the editing system, and I plugged the little cord in this time, but I plugged the cord into the wrong freaking hole. So now we are recording this podcast YouTube video for the 3rd time. Here's the learning lesson though, okay? This is not what this episode's about. I just need to vent, so appreciate you hearing me out here. But here's the learning lesson. In today's society, a lot of people, if this happened to them, they would say, oh, this is a sign from God. This is a sign from the universe. It's not meant to happen today. Let me just take a break instead. Wrong. Bullshit. That is not how I view it. I view it actually as God saying, hey, this is a test. It's going to be frustrating. Let's see how bad you really want it. And then I prove, hey, I do want it. And I will continue. If I keep fucking up, if I fuck up again, knock on wood, I will re-record this. So that's the takeaway. But here's what we're actually talking about today. All right. Last year, one of my best sales reps went into a slump. Consistently, this sales rep was between 40 and 60% close rate, which is really good. The industry average is 25% for close rate. And for a full month, he was in a slump and closed 14% for that month. All right. Now, he was on the brink of being fired, but he has been very loyal to me. And I, as a leader, don't believe in just firing somebody because they have a bad month. I'm going to pour my heart out into that individual and see if I can get this turned around. So we implemented a 3-step process, and his close rate went from 14% to 60%. All right. Now, check this out. It wasn't just like one random month he had 14% and then some other random month he had 60%. This was over a 6 to 7 month process, and month over month, his close rate was improving. Okay, so here are the numbers. All right, so in April of 2024, 14% closing. Then it went to 19% in May, 33% in June, 38% in July, 47% in August, 48% in September. It dropped a little in October, went to 36%, and then it jumped up to 60%. So over that time frame, there was only 1 month that it didn't go up, but every other month it was consistently going up once we implemented this game plan. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about. Now, before we go into the 3 steps, I do have a little bit of like a PSA and a little bit of a bone to pick with the coaching industry. Now, you may be watching this, you may be a solopreneur coach and you want to get better at sales. You may be a sales rep working for a coaching company, or you might be the leader. You might be the person who is managing sales reps. I have a bone to pick with you if that's you. Here's what I've seen in the coaching space, and it drives me up a wall. There was no leadership. There was no training. You guys just freaking hire closers, hire DMers, expect that they know what to do, expect that they're going to be experts, and then when they suck, you say, oh, I guess they suck, and then you fire them. No, they don't suck. Your leadership sucks. You're not training them. Right? You're not actually training them. Guess what? If you brought somebody in and they were jacked and then they didn't train in the gym for 3 months, they would lose their muscle, or at least they would lose some of their muscle. The same thing is true in sales. Even if you're bringing an expert in, you got to continue to work that muscle. You got to continue to work that muscle if you want it to grow, if you want it to maintain. You got to continue to practice. That's the biggest bone I have to pick with the coaching industry. All right, in terms of sales. Okay, anyways. Let's get into this. So when a closer is in a slump, or when you are in a sales slump, especially if you've had prior success, okay? Like this sales rep that we're talking about here. He's had a lot of prior success and then had one bad month. 90% of the time, the percentage is probably higher. A high percentage of the time, it has nothing to do with their sales skills and everything to do with their personal life. So the very first thing we did is we checked in with him on his personal life. He told us he was on the brink of divorce. His relationship, his marriage was not going well. Well, go figure why he had a terrible month, right? He was not focused on personal development. He was not focused on his relationship, and he was having a lot of turmoil as the results of that. So that's the very first thing. So if you're in a slump, do a gut check. Do a gut check. How are you doing personally, right? How are you doing with your personal development routine? Are you consistent with your personal development routine? Are you pouring into you? All right. And that's the very first thing that we did. We checked in with them, but then we created a personal development routine. Here's why I believe in that. Okay, here's why I believe in that in terms of a sales context. Sales is a transfer of belief. Okay, here's what that means. You're on a sales call. There are two people and they have two beliefs. One person believes they don't need to sign up for your program for XYZ reason. The other person believes that that person does need to sign up for their program for XYZ reason. Whoever believes in their stance more is going to win that interaction. Here's another way to think about it. You go into a candy store, kid and mom. Kid wants a lollipop. Mom doesn't want the kid to have a lollipop. Whoever is more convicted, whoever has more belief in their stance is going to walk out of that lollipop with their stance having won. All right. So if that's true, if sales is a transfer of belief, then we as salespeople need to learn how to increase our belief. Now, there's two ways that we can increase our belief. We increase our skill set and our competency in sales. And the other thing we do is we increase our belief within ourselves, okay? Our belief within ourselves. We increase our soul. So more specifically, because personal development is the foundation here, here's what that looks like. Okay, that looks like you got to do stuff for your health. Okay, you got it physically and nutritionally, right? You got to clean up your diet, right? You also got to find some sort of a workout routine that you could be consistent with. All right, you also need to pour into yourself spiritually, right? Connect with God. If you don't believe in that stuff, there are still other spiritual things you could do: breath work, meditation. Okay, relationally, you got to make sure that you're pouring into your family. You got to make sure you're pouring into your relationships, your friendships, your marriage. Okay, and then lastly, mentally, you got to continue to expand your mindset. You got to continue to expand your knowledge base, reading books, podcasts, things of that nature. So that's the formula that we implemented with our sales rep, right? We implemented a health game plan, a relational game plan. So we actually had him take call slots off of his calendar so he can spend more time with his wife, more time with his family. We got him back into the gym. We cleaned up his diet. We got him reconnected with God. He was a former Christian. We got him reconnected with God. And then we got him back to reading books, podcasts, and pouring into himself on a mindset basis as well. All right, but that's step number one. And a lot of the times, y'all, you don't even need step 2 and 3. If you just clean up the personal, especially if you're an individual that has had former success in sales, that alone can just get you back into a groove, get you back into momentum. All right, so that's always the first place I go. All right, the second thing here is we increased his training. Okay, we increased his training. So we were probably training 2 to 3 times a week. We increased it to 4 to 5 times a week. Training doesn't have to be long. That's a big misconception I see is like, oh, I'm going to have to do hours of training. No, you don't have to do hours of training, 30 minutes. And there's actually studies to show that shorter training is better. Shorter training is better. There's diminishing returns the longer that we train. So 20 to 30 minutes is the sweet spot. Now, what are we training? We're role playing and we're doing game film. Okay, here's what role playing is. I'll talk about game film in a second. All right, role play. You can role play the whole entire script. I wouldn't recommend that because then you're only getting 1 rep of everything. What I would recommend is you either role play a whole entire section, so the discovery section, the presentation, the pitch and objection handling, or you role play certain aspects of each section. A certain part of the discovery. Maybe it's finding the why, a certain part of the presentation, certain objections that you would get, and you can get more repetitions that way. So we would do 30 minutes of training, and our goal was always to get 3 reps, either 3 reps of the same thing or 3 reps of different things within that 30 minutes. All right. Now, we also did game film. Here's what game film is. Okay. Game film is either they review their own sales call, I reviewed their sales call, and I have a grading rubric that I follow in order to give the sales call a grade and to highlight anything that I think that they need to be better at. Or we'll watch the game film together, which is my personal favorite because they're there in real time. They can watch themselves, which there's a lot of benefit to, even though it's uncomfortable. And I can give them real feedback in real time as well. All right, so that's the second thing we did. We increased their level of training. Now, the third thing we did, I can't take credit for this. This is something that Andy Elliott came up with, but I have implemented it, and it absolutely 100% does work, and it provides accountability to the process, okay? Without accountability, right, we're going to have inconsistent results. But if we have accountability around the actions that we need to be doing consistently, we're going to have consistent results, not inconsistent results. All right, so here's what it is. Sales non-negotiables. We implemented sales non-negotiables. Here's what that looks like. All right, that looks like you will close X deals a day, or you will complete X follow-ups a day. If you fail to do both, not one or the other, you don't have to do both, but if you fail to do both, then you have to do XYZ repercussion. Okay, let's go ahead and break that down. What does that mean? So the first thing, you have to close X deals a day. All right, so this should be a mathematical formula. This shouldn't be like just guessing or feeling. This should be looking at your calendar, knowing what your show rate is. So if you have 10 calls on the calendar, you have a 70% show rate. Great, I know 7 calls are going to show. My closing rate's 50%. Cool, I'm going to close 3.5 of these. Let's round up and call it 4. That's my target for the day. So just do the math. Your show rate, what's your close rate, and you can figure out exactly what your target should be for that day. Okay, now the second thing here is or, not and, so you don't have to do both. You just have to do one or the other in order to have a win for that day, is completing X number of follow-ups. Now, X number of follow-ups should not just be this easy cakewalk, walk in the park thing. You should look at the amount of follow-ups you have to do, and you should gasp a little bit. You should be a little bit nervous. It should stress you out a little bit. Now, I'm not saying it should be so crazy that you have to stay up until midnight to get it done, but it should be within your normal working hours. Okay, there'll be a little bit of a stretch, and you have to push yourself to get it done. Now, if you fail both, so if you don't hit your closing target, you don't hit your follow-up target, there's a repercussion. This is where the accountability comes in. All right, the repercussion should be something physical, and something physical that you fucking hate. It could either be running, it could be burpees, something that you absolutely just don't want to do. All right, so once again, you will close X deals a day or complete X follow-ups a day, and if you fail, then you have to do XYZ repercussion. Those are the 3 things that we implemented. All right, nothing crazy, right? Super simple. Personal development is at the foundation. We instituted a personal development routine. We checked in on them personally, and we continue to check in on them personally. All right, we increased the level of training. We were very specific and deliberate on what we were training and how we were training and how long we were training. And then lastly, we instituted accountability with the sales non-negotiables. All right, y'all, that's going to bring us to the end of this one. If you guys enjoyed this, it's 100% free. All I ask for in return, which is also 100% free for you to give, is hit that subscribe button, leave a thumbs up, leave a comment, and I'll see you guys in the next one.